The Decepticon version of a Junkion. With all those extra parts, she could look like she came out of a Mad Max movie. Is that a real hook? Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're continuing our look at Legacy Evolution toys. We're taking a look at a rather odd character in the lineup. This is Axlegrease. Now, of course, what makes her a bit odd is the fact that, while she is a Junkion, she is one that is associated with the Decepticons. As it's commonly seen more often in the lore that the Junkions more served alongside the Autobots, after the fact that the Autobots were the ones that encountered them on the planet of Junk in the 1986 animated film. However, the inclusion of her as a Decepticon does show that the Junkions are capable of independent thought and making their own decisions. Now, of course, while it's rare to have a female Junkion, one has appeared in the animated series beforehand, as one was seen in an episode of Season 3 of the Generation 1 cartoon, watching television alongside Wreck-Gar. Now, while this one was not given a name, in Japan she was referred to as Nancy, for some weird reason. And apparently the design for Nancy's head was used for Axlegrease's head. So it at least shows some idea of sticking to what has been done before. Unfortunately, Axlegrease is also another product of Hasbro's usual cheapness, as she borrows a lot from the earlier released Scrap Hook figure. The alternate mode is very similar, although she does not become a tow truck per se, but she does carry over the tow hook accessory. Well, she doesn't have the tow arm that goes with it, and she also has a different set of pieces to form the front of the vehicle. Namely, in this case, she has an exposed engine rather than the air intakes that were featured on Scrap Hook. Now, she's also a new character in the line, so there really isn't much to say about her. The lore only really says is that she is a fierce warrior and has been known to steal parts off of the foes she defeats to add to her own arsenal. So, rather a scary character. Hopefully they will incorporate her into some media so we can further flesh out the character. That would be a nice feature. Alright, let's take a look here at some of her accessories. Since she's like the others, she can be broken down into multiple pieces. We'll start with the more prominent of her pieces, starting with her blasters. Of course, she has the option of holding them one in each hand, or you can combine the two together to form one blaster. But of course, as you can also see, this also turns her weapon into an engine. So it looks like she's got a V6. It looks like she has a V6. With a bit of with fancy piping here along the top. Interesting choice for a Junkion. And then, of course, next up, are her pipes. So very similar to the ones that came with Scrap Hook. The biggest noticeable difference is that the colored portion on the inside will be in a dark blue to match her body. But other than that, they are the same. She also has, like Larry pointed out, a hook. It is shaped similarly to the tow hook that came with Scrap Hook, but it is molded in a light blue plastic that matches the plastic of her hands. And then, of course, lastly, we have this. To drop part of it on the floor. Good thing it landed near my feet. This is just basically another fancy piece. Looks like it does merge together, because it will be attached together when you transform her. Kind of looks like a extra set of pipes for the back, probably for an afterburner. Which makes some sort of sense, but it's also a bit weird due to the fact the instructions have you plug the hook into one of these holes, so kind of renders part of it moot for a weird reason. And of course, you can also break her apart. As her arms are easily removable. You can separate her body. Nope, apparently this time her body is attached to the hip, but you can remove her lower legs just as well. So you can simulate that you've blasted her to pieces this way. Okay, now that we have her reassembled, let's take a look at Axlegrease's articulation. And like we said, since she shares the same mold with a previous toy, she'll match his articulation as well. Her head can be turned from side to side. It is not on a ball joint, so it does not move up and down. Her arms can be stretched out to the side about so far, and they do rotate at the shoulder all the way around. We'll have to watch out for some of the kibble on her back getting in the way. You can bend her arms at the elbow 90 degrees, and she does have a swivel at the bicep, so she has G.I. Joe style battle grip. You can twist her at her hips, so we got some dance moves going, especially if the Junkions start having a party. You can spread her legs apart into a full split. She does have a thigh cut, but it is down below the knee. As you saw, since her legs detach there at the knee. You can raise her leg at the hip 90 degrees, you can bend her at the knee 90 degrees, and you can also adjust her ankle. So all in all, relatively decent articulation, especially for a figure that you can break apart. Alright, to transform Axlegrease, we start by making sure she has none of her accessories on her. And in some cases she will come apart a bit, probably from some of the transforming, but as you saw, the arms and the lower legs are easy to reattach if they do pop off in the process. We start by coming around to her backside, and we're going to pop open these doors. Just open them up all the way so they're out of our way. Then next we come around to the front, and we're going to get her arms opening up at the shoulder. They come out towards the front. As you see, her one arm just did come off. Plug it right back in. Get them out like so. Then you can fold down her chest. And then we grab the head section and we're going to fold it back into her back. Then now that we've done that, we can rotate this section at her hips so it's turned her head around. You come around here to her back, to her new backside now. We're going to adjust the arms so the arms are going outwards to the side like so. Then we come down here to her feet. We're going to start by folding them down at the ankle. And then manipulating the ankle joint inside so that it brings her feet flush against her legs. That way that helps form the front end of the truck mode. See, the leg popped off there. Get it back in. Once we got them adjusted like that, and they're all the way aligned, you just press them together to hold them in place. Then, of course, once that's done, we'll shift her legs and her back piece so that they help sit flush and form the front end and the driver's compartment of her truck mode. And we're going to come back here, adjust the shoulders at their flaps, push them further back a bit, so that way her chest panel here can be folded flush against the body. And as you'll see here, there's a little hole here just above her insignia. That should line up with this post here. There we go, that locks it into place. And once that's done, we can get the doors down. And then the doors are out of our way. Then next, come up here to her arms. Turn them at the elbow so that basically the hole that you saw on the top is now pointing down below the wheelbase. And then, of course, once you've done that, you can turn her hands at the wrist so that her hands are now facing upwards. Whoops, got that backwards because the holes have got to be up, otherwise the arms won't bend the right way. Because our arms are now to bend inside where they have to come together, and then the flaps of the shoulders also have to fold inwards to line the arms up with the body of the truck. Now, of course, some of us do find it a little easier to take one or both of them out, fold those in flush, and in this way we can also work the arms into the position we want them to be in. And then the arms should connect together like so. And then it's just a simple matter of realigning everything up and getting it all back into place. Give me a second here, it's wanting to fight. Alright, we got that readjusted. And I forgot I had to re-rotate the hands so they were up facing. The thumb side should be at the same side as the holes here on the arms. So that gets her truck mode all built up. But we also need to add the accessories. They want us to plug these two parts together to form the extra bit here at the back. So it kind of closes off her truck bed. Now they say they want the hook to be protruding from one of these. Again, I find it kind of dumb, but we'll do that. So that way it matches. Alright, once we got those in, you get our pipes and they go into these holes just before the back tires. And of course, you combine her guns together to form an engine. And then you can plug that in, and there we go. She is now in her truck mode. I think Larry's right. She does look like something that you'd see in a post-apocalyptic movie, or maybe a zombie apocalypse movie. If you know somebody that's good at hot rodding vehicles like this. She also rolls pretty good. Okay, one bonus thing. Just like the other Junkions, she can, like we saw, she can be broken up and her parts can be applied to other transformers. Now, while they don't show a way of breaking down a lot of her body to be armor, I'm sure since she is the same mold as Scraphook, you could follow those instructions for a similar idea. The instructions do show one for use with Crash Bar, despite the fact that, as you can clearly see, they are on opposing factions. To do that, we're going to need to remove the front section of her vehicle, set the rest of it aside, take the engine out, and separate both the front end of the vehicle and the engine. Doo-doop, dee-doop. A little tricky here, the way it snaps together. There we go. Reattach the engine halves in their respective side. And then the car pieces, there's a little hole in the side, and they will attach to the saddlebags on Crash Bar. Kind of giving him a wide-bodied motorcycle look, which does look a little weird, to say the least. But then again, better than not having any front section at all. So we get to my thoughts. What do I think of Axlegrease? I think Axlegrease has the potential to become an interesting character in the Transformers universe. However, since she is brand new and created just as a toy, it may be a while before we find out anything about her in general. The toy being a repaint, it's typical of Hasbro to do that, but at least they went out of the way to make it somewhat different by giving her a different head and labeling her as a female Transformer. It's nice to see we're getting a few more females in the Transformer lineup. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but hey, let's go with it. As for the toy itself, it's not bad. Again, with it being mostly a repaint and retool of another toy that was just released earlier in the year, it's not going to scream a lot of excitement, but with the fact that they also put her on the opposite faction, that should give some incentive for people to buy her. As we usually do get less Decepticons than we do Autobots, so it would be nice to help flush out the Decepticon ranks. All in all, I hope to see more of Axlegrease in the future, and hopefully something that will help develop her character and make her an interesting one for the toy line. At any rate, that's my review of Axlegrease. I hope you all enjoyed it. And please do remember that if you like the content we feature on this channel, I'd appreciate a like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.